They've made desperate journeys across thousands of miles. Now these migrants and refugees are upset about their treatment in Hungary. Plus, why protesters in Malaysia are demanding their Prime Minister be removed from power. And a US law enforcement officer gunned down while refueling his patrol car. We'll explain why investigators believed he was targeted simply because of his uniform. Hello, I'm Lynda Kinkade and this is CNN Newsroom. Run out of their countries by war, terror and poverty, migrants are sweeping into Europe, but many are finding themselves at dangerous dead ends. They're arriving by the hundreds of thousands, sleeping where they can, eating what they can buy, moving when it seems safe. They're coming by two routes, by sea from North Africa and by land from Syria, Iraq and South Asia. Arriving in Turkey, then making their way through Greece and into Central Europe. Many hope to reach Germany, which says it will take hundreds of thousands of them. But some countries are making it very difficult. Along the eastern route, Hungary is building a 160-kilometre border fence to keep them out. Thousands are slipping through, but Hungary is not allowing many of them to continue on. So an increasing number of migrants are finding themselves stuck in diplomatic limbo, camped at the train station in Budapest. And some are falling prey to the dangerous promises of human smugglers. Arwa Damon shows us their plight.
We've been here for the last few days and people just can't take it anymore. They are all running out of money, and on a number of occasions we've seen some parents completely break down because mothers say they can't really afford to properly feed their babies, their children, and at this stage there is no solution. There is no viable end in sight to their existence like this.
Each person here has a story of misery. Most refugees from the wars ravaging Syria and Iraq left it to languish in the heart of Europe. This is Budapest train station turned refugee way station. Some try to wash off the filth and grime as best they can to restore a bit of their dignity after a journey to get here that has stripped them of it. They exist in limbo, waiting away the hours, hoping that their road ahead to Western Europe will open. This 19-year-old asks that we not disclose her identity. She doesn't want her parents to see her like this. She has a nursing degree, 2 small children, but Iraq is not a country that she can call home anymore. Her husband Samir worked at the family's hair salon, but tragedy struck way too often.
What made them decide that they couldn't go back to Iraq was another attack on the hair salon, and his uncle, who taught him everything he knew, was killed and his younger brother was wounded.
They tried to board a train here, bought the tickets, but then were told no, not without a visa. Cars with drivers willing to bend the rules that can get them through, price at 500 euros plus per person. The scant options in desperation leave them vulnerable to criminal gangs, and all have heard of the fate of the 71 who perished in the cooler truck on the highway to Vienna. Heba also doesn't want to appear on camera, wiping away her tears as she tells us of her 4- and 6-year-old in Damascus. She, 27, and with a law degree, is making the journey in hopes her family can join her without having to go through this. People are saying the Syrians smell. The way we're being treated without a place to shower turned us into this, she says. At the camp near the border, she says treatment was inhumane. They throw the water at us, and you have to scramble for it like an animal. She escaped under the barbed wire, but went back, unable to keep going alone. Even in Budapest, she says, the response whenever she wants to buy something is this. Germany, however, says it will take hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers. So no one here can comprehend why Hungary won't let them go.
People have also been going out and demonstrating at the entrance to the train station, pleading, begging with Germany to do something, begging the United Nations, the European Union, anyone who is willing to listen, to somehow find a solution. They do not want to go and report to the Hungarian camps. They do not want to be trapped here, and increasingly more and more of them are going to begin turning to those smugglers and those criminal gangs who do not have their best interests at heart. They know it is a great risk to go that route, but they're saying the longer they're forced to stay like this, they're going to be left with no choice but to put their lives, the lives of their children, in the hands of those who can even just promise to get them across.
To better understand the scope and urgency of this crisis, we turn now to Joel Millman in Geneva, Switzerland. He is a senior spokesman for the International Organization for Migration. Joel, for so much of this year, we've seen boats that were barely seaworthy taking migrants to their deaths in the Mediterranean. Now we have people smugglers allowing migrants to suffocate in the back of a truck. How much worse can it get?
I wish you wouldn't ask that, because it's just been a terrible year already. You know, we've been saying all along that safe and legal migration is the most important goal right now. When you make obstacles the way that people have across Europe, particularly Hungary right now, you're forcing people to make bad choices, to engage with smugglers who have clearly very little regard for the safety and well-being of their clients. That's how you end up with dozens killed in that truck in Austria earlier this week. We fear this kind of thing will go on unless more humane solutions are adopted.
And Joel, France's foreign minister has criticised some European countries, particularly Hungary and its 175-kilometre razor wire barrier along its border with Serbia. How would you describe the response in Europe?
It's been pretty mixed. I mean, we think Europe on the whole has shown flexibility. They've adjusted. Germany obviously has taken a step. Scandinavia has been very generous with asylum. The problem is that Europe has rules that, you know, were made in good faith, but they dictated that people who came requesting asylum should do so in the first country they've arrived in. And clearly, you know, Greece and Italy are the first countries, and not too many people are asking for asylum there because very few of them have family in those countries, and they want to go logically to where their families are, either in Central Europe, Northern Europe, UK, Scandinavia. And this is something that Europe never expected numbers like this. I don't think anyone did. And they need to start thinking about how we can be flexible with the rules to give people what they think is the most logical solution. I mean, the migrants themselves know where to go and know what to do. It's just that there are regulations that you know, are being overwhelmed, let's say, by the numbers of people crossing.
They're absolutely huge numbers, apparently the greatest numbers of migration since World War II. Now, we know Germany, France and Britain have called for this emergency meeting. It's going to happen September 14th. How best should they tackle this?
Well, I mean, we've been saying for 2 years now at IOM that the solution doesn't lie right there at the border or at the asylum process. It lies with the whole world community doing something about the conditions in the principal sender countries. I mean, we know those countries are Syria, the Horn of Africa. We know that Libya plays a huge role because of the vacuum of authority on that coast. For that reason, we don't think it's just Europe's responsibility. We think the entire world has a role to play, and it would be starting with trying to impose a ceasefire, a political solution in some of these warring countries, and the kind of stability that will give Europe and other nations a partner to work with and a new government that they can rely on to manage this migration. Because so much of this has come because there's just chaos in the countries where people are coming from.
Absolute chaos. And Joel, Germany expects up to 800,000 asylum applications this year, far more than any other EU country. How will it cope with those numbers?
Well, 800,000 is an awful big number. I mean, they had 200,000 last year, and it's hard to imagine quadrupling. The total amount of people who've come into Europe this year, irregular migration, is 340,000. That's all land and sea borders, according to Frontex, the EU's border patrol or border protection unit. You're talking about doubling that number in the last 4 months, and basically saying everyone's going to go to Germany seeking asylum. I think that's something of an apocryphal or even an extreme forecast. So I don't think it'll be that high. But you know, Germany is a thriving economy that's attracted a lot of migrants. They're going to have a large population. I believe they're going to deal with it as best they can. I mean, we applaud the efforts, but obviously other countries are going to have to match their resettlement numbers.
Yeah. We'll have to leave it there for now. Joel Millman, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.